since we are running out of time, we'll start until others joining. So I'll give a brief introduction about me. I'm Tarushi Dinetri. So I'm currently working at Dialog Asiata as a lead lead in cybersecurity governance. So I completed my BSc in University of Colombo, Physical Science, and also I completed my BSc in Cybersecurity in Sri Lanka Institute of Information Security, and my Master's is on Security Engineering at University of Moratuwa, and I have completed certifications in the field also. So currently I am having over 7 years of experience in the security field. So actually, I would like to know the joint ones, the background before I start. So can you all please give a small intro where you work? I mean the specialized area of you in your career. So shall we start from Fazila? Just 2-3 sentences are enough. I mean, just to know what will be the background of yours.
Hi, yeah, Miss. So I'm Fazila. I've been working as a full stack developer for about 4+ years now. Currently, I'm working with an Australian startup remotely.
Okay, thank you, Fazila. Madhura Palapatal.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Hi, I am Madhura Palapattala. I am working as an associate customer engineer for data management systems division 1 in networking sector.
Okay, thank you. So, Mudita Gunawardana. Mudita, maybe.
I am Mudita Gunawardana. I am working as a health medicine at Western Point PDHS.
Okay, thank you, Mudita. And then Parindu Veerasinghe. Okay, thank you, Mudita. Eleni Navagamu.
Hi, madam. I'm Tilini Navagamu. I'm Assistant Director IT in Department of Fisheries, Sri Lanka.
Okay. Then we have Lakshi Kumar Nayak.
Yes, Miss, I'm Lakshi Kumar Nayak. Now I'm working at Bank of Ceylon Head Office, IT Department, IT Security Department, and also Security Operations Center.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction. I just wanted to get an idea on your field before I start. So we'll start. Today I will talk about global cybersecurity standards and their applicability. So I will turn off my video for the moment. Hope you can see my screen.
Yes, Miss.
Okay, thank you. So we'll start. So the global cybersecurity standards and applicability. Today I'm going to talking about what are the security standards that are applicable within cybersecurity domain. And based on that, you can decide what are the standards that can be obtained to your organizations based on their applicability, because some of the standards are not applicable to some of the domains, even though it's secure in the security standards. So we'll look into the possible cybersecurity standards that you can incorporate your organizations to enhance the reputation and the validity of your organizations currently working in. So actually, why we need the standards? We need standards to make all our companies in one secured standard. So demonstrate adherence to the global standard in the sense once an organization is certified with a certain standard, that particular organization can go and compete with the other organizations in the world because those standards will be taken as a benchmark by the clients and users when they are choosing you. So also the standards automatically enhance the operational efficiencies because if we are complying with the standards, we have to adhere to certain level of controls, some of the controls. So when we implement those controls within our system, our operational efficiency also goes up. And the other main thing is the risk management. So easily we can identify risk before the risk is compromised. We can address the risk. So based on that, the lost or revenue lost or some any loss of the company can be minimized or stopped. And the international recognition also already there, and customer trust and confidence. So we can go and say out there we have this standard, so we are certified with this standard and we are complying with all those controls in those standards, and based on that customer trust and confidence can be built on that. Competitive advantage in the sense, if we are talking about the two companies, A company and B company, both are providing the same service, and mainly the cost also may be the same. The service cost also may be the same. Then we are looking into the standards and their reputation in the society and the global reputation. So there also we can get the competitive advantage if we are aligning with certain kind of benchmarks or certifications if we obtained. So moving forward, have I lost my screen? No, right? So today I will be talking about these standards. ISO 22301, which is the business continuity management. ISO 27701, privacy information management system. NIST, a cybersecurity framework. And ISO 27001, information security management system, which is the mostly the main certification that we are having for the cybersecurity, and ISO 27017 and 27018. Also, we'll talk about PCI DSS, which is basically mainly for the fintech companies. Like if you are having the payment card industry, payment card applications, the PCI DSS is very crucial. So since you are all working in the reputed companies, I hope every one of you heard of the ISMS, which means 27001. So we'll start with, if you have questions, you can raise your hand and ask questions at any time. So we'll start with the ISO 27001, which is Information Security Management System. And this is the global standard, and we can say this is a benchmark for the information security. And this ensure the CIA triad. I think you are aware of CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So this standard ensure the CIA confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So this covers almost all the areas within information security. Basically, the risk assessment, access control, incident management, asset management, and end user security. uh, those will be the main focus areas of information's ISMS 27001. And also, the benefit, if you're talking about the because of the controls that stated in the standard, the data protection measures can be strengthened with the given guidelines. And most of the time, ISO 27001 talks about the human factor. Based on that also, we can reduce the human errors, because when you talk about talking about security, the humans are the weakest link. So even a phishing attack is coming through the person, this particular staff, and it improves the security structure and focus, and also it improves the regulatory compliances. So if we are digging into this information security management system standard, I talked about the risk assessment. If I talk about the risk assessment, basically we are doing the risk assessments in regular intervals, like twice a year, biannually, we are doing a risk assessment. And also we are doing risk assessment whenever we purchase a new software or solution to the company. And also we do risk assessments once a application developed by the company goes live. There we do the risk assessment to identify possible risks that are coming to the organization through that application or the purchased solution or purchase solution. So by doing the risk assessment, we can identify the risk and we can treat them. Treating the risk also coming under several ways. One, we can reduce the risk, which means we can implement certain controls and we can reduce the risk. For an example, say some of the applications may be legacy applications, so that we cannot implement role-based access control or authentications. So there we can reduce the risk by implementing some of the monitoring mechanisms to alert if any anomaly happens. So there we reduce the risk, and also we can mitigate the risk. Mitigate the risk in the sense we have to treat the risk. So if the authentication bypassing is the problem, then we need to implement controls to stop unauthorized authentication. That is the mitigation. And also we can transfer the risk. So for an example, the company is handling payroll. So actually the payroll, when we handle the payroll within the company, there are several risks that are coming to the company through the payroll system. So we can outsource this payroll system to a third party, so then we can transfer the risk. The risk is within the third party organization then. So that is transferring the risk. And also we can accept the risk. The risk acceptance also should be done by the based on the severity of the identified risk. We can decide whom need to get this risk. For an example, if the risk is rated at higher level, we need to get the approval of the senior management to accept the risk. Because if we are working in the governance sector, cybersecurity governance, the governance team cannot directly absorb the risk, because the governance team always recommend to implement controls. And cybersecurity team always recommend to implement the controls. If the operations team says we cannot implement uh, this particular control, that particular operation team should get that risk of not implementing that particular control. So likewise, the risk acceptance should be done by the particular senior management. Also, although we accept the risk, that particular risk need to be reviewed, because even if it's accepted, there should be a way to mitigate the way to reduce the risk of that risk. So initial risk, we call it as the gross risk, and once we implement a certain controls, we call that risk residual risk. So am I clear to you all, or do I need to explain more on the terminologies? And I hope you all in the basic ideas on the security field. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can.
Yeah, Tisara, I hope you'll have some certain kind of cybersecurity background on you all when I use terminologies. I'm also not sure. So, in your masters, are you doing any cybersecurity subject? So, your specialization is on cybersecurity.
We are doing the master's for is cybersecurity, but we are doing subjects also.
Okay. Thank you. If there's anything, please raise your hand and ask questions then and there before I move forward. So, the other main thing that covers under ISMS, Information Security Management System standard, is the asset management. Before to do anything in an organization, we must have a proper list of assets. If not, all the other controls will not be useful actually. For an example, if incident comes in and we know the IP and we are finding the IP, what is this IP? No one is know what is this IP and this IP belongs to whom. So it takes much more time to identify the asset even in an incident. So the attacker has enough time to go through all over the network and find the data and knows and penetrate into the network as much as he can. So first and foremost, we need to have the asset list. If in every company, we need to have the asset list with proper custodians and responsible persons, and the versions, if it's a server, the version, custodianship, and responsibility, and what is the application running on that particular server. That asset list is a must if you are talking about any of these standards. All these standards, first the auditors come and see where is the asset list. That is the key focus document. If I say it's a document, key focus document in every standard. So without that security, we cannot build security actually, because if incident happen, if we can't identify what is the asset is, what is this IP is, we won't be able to address or mitigate the attack. So, and that is a must asset list, and also the monitoring. As per the standard, monitoring also should be there for basically the assets can be categorized into several based on the severities of the asset. For an example, if one of the server is having the fintech solution and also it is having PII information, personally identifiable information, that server we can categorize as a high severity level asset. So based on that, we can do the monitoring. We can apply the monitoring. So we can do the monitoring through if we have a SOC, we can do the monitoring over SOC. And we can use some of the tools like Cyber, and also we can have a jump server to record the access somehow in some extent also. And another thing that is covered under ISO 27001 is end user security. Within end user security, the standard looks into the end user PCs. What are the security controls that are applicable into the end user devices? And they look for the antivirus systems, and they also look for whether someone can log into the system office lap or your office laptop and impersonate you, and whether they can access some of the critical applications that are not allowed to access by you through your computer. So those things, they will be definitely checked. And the other one is the incident management. The incident management, in the sense, once the incident is happened, the flow should be to reduce what we call, to reduce the impact of the incident, we need to act fast when there's an incident. So for that, we need to do the cyber drills quarterly or biannually or regularly. We need to do the cyber drills to make the team full aware of what they have to be done when an incident happen without being panicked. So if an incident happen without knowing any steps, all the team will be panicked, and then no one will be able to address the incident properly. So that as a preparedness, we need to do the cyber drills and all. So that is incident management that comes under the standard. So all the other standards are basically built on this ISO 27001 ISMS standard. So we'll move into the next standard, that is PIMS, Privacy Information Management System. So without ISMS previous standard, we cannot go for the Privacy Information Management System standard, because this is built on the pre-ISO 27001, and this is the extended version. In the ISO 27001, we talk about the information security, and this is an added thing, privacy, to that standard. Normally, this is the globally identified standard for the privacy information, and this is mainly for the companies who are managing personal data in compliance with privacy regulations, and this also enables risk assessment and data protection impact analysis, also the incident management. So the basic benefit of this standard to your company is, if for an example, if you are a for example, for me, for a telco company and also the bank, they are handling so many PII information. PII information in the sense personally identifiable information. So if a company handles PII information, there should be a trust among people to get to you and give you their personal information without any doubt. So that trust need to be built among the people. So if we can say we have certified ISO 27701, the customers or the users will tend to come to you more than the other companies because they know that their information are protected within your company. And also all the standards are giving you the competitive advantage by showcasing the commitment regarding the privacy and security. If we talk about more in the PIMS, there are two categories actually. We are going with PIMS. One is PII controller and the other one is PII processor. PII controller. Who is this PII controller? Any of your organization is having the PIMS certification? Okay. Hope you all there in the in the room. Thank you, Mudita. So we'll talk about more in PIMS. There are two set of categories that we are going with when you're talking about PIMS. One is PII controller and the other one is PII processor. Before we are going to have the certification, we need to identify in which category we are because the controls will be different in the both categories. If we are going as a PII controller, who is this controller? The controller is the one who is collecting the PII, personally identifiable information. And controller is the one who is defining what PII is going to be collected and why we are processing this PII information and how we are going to process this information. So basically the PII controllers will be most of the times will be the company you works and maybe most of the time your company will be the controller and most of the time processor will be the CSPs, cloud service providers, because the uh, so all the PII data, maybe the data you collected from the customers you store in the cloud. If not, processor also will be you. If you store within your premise, on-prem within your premise and on-prem servers, so processor will be you. And who is processor then? Processor is the one who stores and processes this PII information for the controller. But the processor cannot decide how this information can be processed. That instruction should come from the controller. So for that, there should be a clear agreement and clear directions from the controller. This is how we need to process this PII information by the processor. So the authority of defining how the data to be processed is with the controller. So most of the times, most of the companies are the controllers, only few are being processors of the PII information. So responsibility, if we are talking about the controller and the processor, most of the responsibility lies on the controller because controller is the one who is collecting the information. For an example, the dialog, we are collecting PII information from the customers. So we will be the controller and all of our customer data will be in the cloud. So our processor is the public cloud like Amazon. And accountability is with the controller, and controller is the one who is to be aligned with laws and regulations, and they need to take into the consideration when defining the process all the laws and regulations. For the telecommunication company, they have to align with the TRCSL, Telecommunication Regulation Authority, given guidelines when we are define the process of processing the PII information. And transparency. Transparency should be between the controller and the customer. Customer in the sense data subjects. Data subject should be aware that we are collecting, that the company is being collected, is collecting the personally identifiable information for this purpose. For that, if we are collecting PII information, there should be a policy that saying that we are collecting information and we are collecting information for this purpose only, and this is how we are going to process your information. That transparency should be there between the controller and the data subjects. Also, they need to obtain the consent of each and every data subject regarding their data processing. And contracts. Contract should be there between the controller and the data processor regarding, as I explained earlier, regarding how to process data. And data protection impact assessment. In data protection impact assessment, in the sense that is to be done by the controller, impact assessment to be done by the controller. If you are going under the controller, the auditors will surely look into the DPIA assessment, so which means data protection impact assessment. You need to assess the impact. For an example, if you are outsourcing your customer data to a third party, do some processing, and to analyze what are the peak hours of the day. So there you need to do the impact analysis based on the information that we are giving out. What are the threats that can be coming to our organization? What are the newly introduced risks to the company based on the data that you have shared with the others? So basically that is the controller's role. Processors, the responsibility lies with the processor is much more higher, but the accountability lies with the processor, because processor is the one who is collecting the information from the customers. What does processor do? Processor only process PII information on behalf of the controller. So their responsibility is to adherence to the process that is defined by the controller, and also their responsibility is mainly with the providing security on the PII information that are stored within their infrastructure. So that protection should be there. They need to implement all the possible controls to safeguard the others' data that are stored in their organization, within their infrastructure. So yes, if a processor is getting the help of another sub-processor, for that also the controller's approval should be obtained by that particular sub-processor. And yes, and also the processor is responsible to deliver data breach notifications to the controller, because controller should know if there's any data breach within their processor. So processor is responsible to notify data breaches if there's any. And the main difference between controller and processor, controller is the one who is defining the process, and processor is the one who is following the instructions. And controller is directly engaging with the data subject, and processor is engaging with the controller, not with the data subject. When we are going for when we are selecting a data processor, the risks that are coming through that data processor should also be assessed. So that is another area that is called third-party risk management. So for a company, there can be a risk that are generated within the company, and some of the risk can be coming through a third party. For an example, if you are developing a solution within the company, and also same time we are getting another feature from another company. So before we are going to that company, we need to do a third party risk assessment whether that particular company is following security standards. We need to do that assessment before we onboard any of the vendors to our organization. That also a main concern under those any of these standards that are applicable within the cybersecurity domain. So mainly, as I explained earlier, telco company will be the controller because they only collect information, and cloud service providers will be the processors since they are the ones who store data and transmit the data within transmit data to process the data as per the requirement of the controller. So that is mainly the privacy information management system. This is the extended version of the earlier ISO 27001. No questions so far. If you have any question, you can put in the chat also.
Yeah, ma'am, it's about that assess list. What type of objects should we include that in that list?
Yes,
I-
actually. Yeah. Normally, when we are going for a certification, there are a list of controls that are coming with that particular standard. So that we call statement of applicability. So we need to go through the control list and the objective list, which controls are applicable to your organization, and there you have the facility to tick the controls that are applicable to your organization. Is that what you ask?
yes, madam. Okay,
Sir?
that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Each and
Okay,
every
thank you.
standard, they are giving us the control list, and from that we can do the statement of applicability documentation. Why this particular control is applicable to your organization, and if the control is not applicable to you, then what need to be done? You have to give the justification. For an example, your organization does not develop any solution, any software. So most of the controls are to for an example, in the ISO 27001, they're talking about data masking. So if you are not developing any kind of solution, if you are not hosting any kind of application within your organization, so that particular parts you can mark it as not applicable. So based on that, you can go for the certification. Auditors will first look into the system statement of applicability, and based on that only they plan their audit, how the audit should be gone. So these are the main standards within the domain, and the other one is ISO 22301, Business Continuity Management System Standard. This is mainly comes under enterprise risk management, enterprise risk. So, but this covers some of the areas in cybersecurity also. Maybe the clients may ask from you whether you have BCM standard. Yes, we do have BCM standard. This is mainly applicable to you if you are delivering any service, or if you are providing any software as a solution as a SaaS, software as a service. Likewise, if you're providing any solution, the business continuity management will be applicable to your company. This also focus on the risk assessment, and we need to do the business impact analysis and continuity planning. And we need to ensure testing, evaluation, and continuous improvement of business continuity strategies. This BCMS is built on the plan, do, check, act model to improve your company's posture. So basically, for an instance, you can think just an example. There can be a fire in your organization, and you will be lost all your servers with the fire. So next day, what can you do? How long will it take to how long will it take you to restore your services? Can you restore your services for the next moment, or will it take another 2-3 years to restore your services as previously? So that measure you can understand if you are going with the business continuity management system standard. So there you need to calculate RPO, RT in the sense recovery points and the recovery time objective, which means if I take my company as an example, if our communication, if our signal towers go down, how long will it take to restore the communication status to the earlier status? Normally, so far the so far the latest time that we have taken, like 30 minutes, that also 6-7 years back. So that RPO and RTO should be calculated within the company, and each business unit should be agreed with the RPO and RTO. RPO in the sense recovery point of objective, which means for a bank, think your banking system will go down for 5 minutes, and you need to capture all the transactions that happened within that last 5 minutes. And RPO defines how many data records you can preserve, how many data records you can save, recovered within your company. And also that should match with your business, business function, which means if you can cater data lost for, you can accept data loss for 2 seconds, that should be accepted by the business unit. And if the data loss is within more than 3 seconds, that is not acceptable level if we define as RPO as 2 seconds, because you are accepting only the data loss of 2 seconds, because you can recover that loss, or you can do anything on that later data loss. So RTO in the sense the time that you are taking to take your services back in the service, back in the operation. So main benefits are like enhance operational resilience and reduce downtime, and build trust and confidence with stakeholders by demonstrating preparedness. If the downtime is higher in a company, no one will go for that company, and they will definitely go for the company with a low level downtime. And also with this, we can ensure the compliance with regulatory requirements and international best practices. With the those are the main benefits comes with business continuity management standard. Yeah, there I need to, yes, in the BCMS, we clearly mainly focus on availability from the CIA track. Risk assessment, yes. We need to do the risk assessment also. Here we need to do the risk assessment. Maybe in the sense of the cybersecurity aspect, or maybe in the sense of the revenue aspect. Because if you lost your payment system for 2-3 minutes, it can be a huge revenue impact for your organization. So that risk should be identified, and those risks should be quantified. Quantified in the sense, think the 2 minutes of downtime of your payment system will lost you $2 million, 2 million rupees, and that can be tolerated within the company. So if that the downtime will be is going up to 3 seconds, the revenue lost will be 4 million. That is not under the toleration level of the company. So that company should assess what we need to do to take this downtime from 4 seconds to 2 seconds. Maybe that involve a cost more than 4 million. So in that case, the risk should be accepted by the respective authorities of the company and move forward. So that's why I told that risk quantification should be done. The risk quantification should be done before we are addressing the risk, so that we can decide whether we are going to address the risk or whether we are going with the risk. And the business continuity plan. Each and every company should have a business continuity plan. If not, if something happens, maybe the climate disaster, maybe human-made error, or it can be something, that intrusion. So there should be a plan for the company how we are going to process from the next minute of the incident. So that we documented in the business continuity plan. And crisis management also should be there. The crisis management, in the sense, if there's a crisis, there should be a proper communication method to communicate the crisis within the company, to take actions. Sometime, for an example, if the SOC alert, SOC alert you a anomaly behavior from an user. So they trigger the incident, and then incident management team should follow the incident management process, or if it's a crisis level, if it's in the crisis level, the team should be process the crisis management process until they know that we are totally out from the crisis. Also, for an example, in the pandemic situations, most of the companies has to go for a sharp shutdown of the company, shutdown in the sense of sharp closure of the company due to the staff is not able to come to the office. So in those situations, the company should trigger the crisis management process, and they need to decide what to be next, what to be done from the next second onwards to make their services as previous. So that is defined under the crisis management plan. And also that they are defining the communication path, how the communication should be done to the employees, and who will be the decision making points, who are the persons who are responsible for the decision making in each and every point. And also we need to do the regular testing and drills. Normally, if it's not in the pandemic, nothing happens to our systems and solutions. So that is a separate, the different kind of crisis. If we talking about in cybersecurity aspect, if we are talking about, we can talk about kind of a ransomware. think ransomware has hit on your data center and most of your data is encrypted. So in that point, what can we do? We need to have a proper readiness for that. So that is why we are taking backups. So taking backups will not be is not enough actually, because your backups also can be affected by the ransomwares. So there should be a early agreed regular ways of taking backups of your data. So now there are solutions for the to the like ransomware protected backups. You can enable maybe most of the backup solutions will provide you the ransomware enabled backup solution. So you can enable those as well. And also we need to restore those backups, and we need to test whether these backups are running as we want, running perfectly. So these testing should be done, and also mainly the DR drills, disaster recovery drills should be performed. If an incident happened, how we need to run the process until we get back. So this cannot be done at once, because we all know if something happens, we panic without doing anything. So if there's a practice that we practiced earlier, so we can align with the practice and move forward. BCMS, this mainly, for an example, this certification is mainly for the solution providers, as I told earlier. CSPs also can obtain the business continuity management. The main concern for the cloud service providers is the data center resilience, because if the CSP cannot provide an uptime like 99%, 999 uptime, then definitely no one will go for that CSP. And for the fintech company, transaction number of transaction failures and breaches, that defines, they have to define that within that business continuity management solution. For a telco company, the communication, how long will it take to restore the communication to the earlier status? That matters for the telco company. So that is how this BCMS standards applicable to few of the domains. So the BCMS, this certification may not be applicable to all the companies, but as I explained, there are several companies, most of the companies are applicable. So based on that, you can decide whether your company, this applicable to your company. So we'll moving to the next two standards. Here I'm going to talk about these two standards collectively, because both of them are on cloud security and one is on the cloud privacy. But both of these standards talk about lies on the cloud. So more the responsibility is shared as per these certifications. The responsibility for security is between the cloud service providers and clients, and focus on control for virtual environment, data separation, and secure cloud storage. And also this provides a guideline for processing personal data, handling consent, and addressing breaches. And this establish controls for securing personally identifiable information in cloud services. Since we are talking about these two standards collectively. So ISO 27017, this is basically on cloud services, while ISO 27018 is basically for PII protection on public cloud. So both of these standards are extension to the ISO 27001, the one we talked about at the very first of this series. And moreover, these 17 standards are applicable for the cloud service providers, customers, and tenants. They are the stakeholders. And while to the 18 standards, the stakeholders will be the will be the CSPs who process PII on the public cloud, and the cloud services IS this 27017 secure data in transit between the cloud environment, while 18 standards decide how PII is processed, backup, and recovery. So mainly this 27017 one, it goes with CSP, while 27018 is going with the companies who are providing storage as a service to their customers. So yes, the benefit, like in the sense, enhance trust in cloud services and mitigate risk associated with cloud-specific threats, build confidence among clients by demonstrating strong privacy practices, reduce risks of data breaches, and regulatory penalties. Here I need to mention, actually I mentioned, as I remember, this is extension of 27001. Also, when we are, for an example, if we are going for a storage as a service, CSP, we need to check their history, whether they have been faced to the data breaches and what is the exposure of that data breach. And also, if you are going for a particular cloud service provider, we need to sign agreements with that cloud service provider, because there should be a proper ways in exiting from those CSPs. If we are enrolled with one particular CSP and we store our data on their cloud, after certain time period, we decided we need to, okay, we are done with this CSP and we need to exit from this CSP. So there should be a initially agreed plan how we are doing the exit process, because we cannot keep our data on the cloud, then we cannot leave, because we are responsible for the data that we collected from the customers. So in that case, we need to have a proper process in cloud data purging. So that also addressed in the 2022 version of the ISO 27001 standard. So with that, we need to define the exit process from the cloud. There should be a proper way to delete the data in the cloud that we stored if I exit from that particular cloud. So those are the main concerns on 27,017 and 18 standards. And yes, those are the main things I wanted to talk on those standards. If we have ISO initial version, there's nothing much to do to your organization to comply with these two standards. The next one is the PCI-DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. This is mainly for the fintech solutions. Mainly in the sense, especially crafted only for the payment card industry solutions. And this protect cardholder data, and this we cover 6 main areas through the PCI DSS. First one is building secure network. Building secure networks in the sense we need to implement firewalls, and we need to implement ACS, access control list, and we need to manage all the access through the firewalls, and also as per the standard, there should not be any vendor default settings like passwords and in the keys. There should not be any vendor default default configurations in the systems. The second one is protecting cardholder data. Protecting cardholder data in the sense protect stored cardholder data, and those cardholder data should be encrypted when the data is data in transit. When we transfer the data, someone can eavesdrop through the communication channel, and they can look into the what data they are transferring. And if you are not encrypting the data in transit, then attacker can easily grab what you are transferring over the channel. So from the network layer, if we talking about the OSI 7 layers, from the network layer to the application layer, all the data should be encrypted. Data in transit should be encrypted. And the third one is maintaining the vulnerability management program. So for that, we need to have proper antivirus systems and secure systems and applications. We need to do vulnerability assessment and penetration testings to our network and systems to identify possible vulnerabilities, and we need to fix them. If the company is not able to fix any of the vulnerability, that should be identified as a risk, and you need to calculate the cost. If that vulnerability exploited, what will be the revenue loss or the reputational damage that can be happen to your organization. And also you need to calculate the cost that is going to do the implementation. So comparing those two costs, you can decide whether we are going to implement this control or we are accepting the risk and move forward. So there should be a proper vulnerability management program. For an example, not for an example, just for an idea for you, if we can gain some more time by installing some of the solutions like deep security as a virtual patch managers, if the system has much more vulnerabilities. But it's not a permanent solution, but it's a temporary solution, so that you can buy some more time until you fix the vulnerabilities. The fourth one is implementing strong access controls. Access controls implementing in the sense that all the access should be implemented based on the need to know basis. And also each and every user should be uniquely identifiable, and also physical access should be strictly restricted, because no one should be able to go to the data centers and should not be able to access the servers physically. And there should be a proper monitoring mechanisms as well to trace back to the attackers also. So this fourth control is talking about implementing strong access control. And the fifth one is monitoring and testing networks. All that should be monitored. As I mentioned earlier, you can forward all your logs to the SOC and do the monitoring for the anomalous behaviors. Or you can have if you need to monitor your staff activities, anomaly activities with we call it as insider attacks. So insider attacks are basically generated within your company. Surely it is coming within your company and through and staff. So to monitor those, we can use user behavior analysis tools like Darktrace, like application you can use like that application also. And also you can use some of the applications like Cyber, which records your access, so that if something happened, you can go back and see the record, who has done this and what has been done. And that is one thing. If those are very costly and you cannot afford, you can simply go for a jump box. But the jump box, it only records your access time and you access time, and you access the system at this time, and you leave the system at this time. It does not record any of the middle steps that you are doing in the system between the access time and the leaving time. And so based on that, your requirement and the budgetary requirements, constraints, you can decide in which monitoring level to up to what extent you can go for in the monitoring. And the sixth concern control is on information security policy. If you are talking about the PCI-DSS, there should be an information security policy. For an example, I have for all these standards, there should be an information security policy. You don't need to develop information security policies each of these standards. You can have only one information security policy which addressed all these standards. So you have to maintain only one security policy to the organization to maintain several certifications. So in the same certification as same policy, you can the same policy you can update and extend when you are going for new certifications. And yes, here the current latest version of this PCI DSS is version 4 that came in 2022. Here we are talking about mainly the terminologies like cardholder data. What is this cardholder data? Cardholder data in the sense card number, the cardholder name, expiry date, and service code. Those will be the cardholder data, and sensitive authentication data will be the magnetic strip data. For an example, your ATM card have a small chip, small SIM card kind of a chip, which stores all your data, and the PIN number and the CVV number, which is printed the backside of the card. Those are the sensitive authentication data. And also in your regular life also, you should not share with this information with anyone else, mainly the PIN, CVV, and the expiry date, card number. Yes, card number. Those should not be shared by any anyone. So the next thing we talking about under the PCI DSS is tokenization. Tokenization in the sense we need to replace all these sensitive data with the token, which means even if an attacker has access to this token, that attacker should not be able to read the token and should not be able to take those sensitive authentication data and cardholder data from that authentication, from that tokenization with that token. So that's also kind of an encryption mechanism. The tokenization also kind of an encryption mechanism that we use to transfer cardholder data. The other thing is the segmentation. For an example, within Dialog, we are running Genie system, Genie within our environment. So segmentation should be done clearly with the fintech solution and with the other solution. For an example, the Genie solution, none of the servers are connected to the other servers within the Dialog, which are not under the Genie scope. Only totally the Genie system is isolated and it's not connected to any of the systems within the company. So that is the segmentation. That a system should be isolated. So the PCI scope will be any of the connections that are done from that fintech solution will be under the PCI DSS scope. So make sure when you are defining the scope, the solution is isolated within the network and it's not connected to any other solutions within the company. So that is basically the PCI DSS certification. And next, the NIST CSF, NIST Cybersecurity Framework. So mainly the NIST discussed over 5 areas: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Those are the 5 key pillars of the NIST standard. This is actually not a standard. You cannot go and say we have NIST standard. This is a framework that you can be aligned with to make sure your organization's security. And this is actually a flexible and adaptable for each and every organization. It doesn't matter the size of the organization and in which sector the organization is, and this can be applicable to any of the organizations, the NIST framework. This enhance the resilience benefit I have mentioned here, enhance the resilience by providing a clear roadmap for managing cybersecurity threats, promotes alignment with best practices and improved communication between technical and non-technical stakeholders, facilitates continuous improvement and preparedness for evolving cyber risk. So if you can see this is the NIST framework, the things that we can implement to adhere to this NIST framework. To identify the identified segment, we talk about asset management. We need to identify the assets. We need to identify the business environment. We need to identify the risk by doing the risk assessment and all. We need to identify the risks that are coming from the supply chain, vendor risk management. So those are the things that we need to identify when we going with the NIST. For that, you can use a Landscaper. It's kind of an inventory tool to find dark web monitoring and Arbor, SailPoint. Those are Panorama, those tools you can use to identify the risk and the assets within your organization, mainly to identify the risk within the organization. After identifying, you need to go for the protect step. Once you identify a risk, you need to address that risk and protect your organization from that risk. Here we have defined the Microsoft Defender for the end users, Prisma Cloud for the cloud solution, Palo Alto and McAfee for Scout, Impala, Sonic Wall, Trend Micro actually provided certain series of solutions under the Trend Micro company. And yes, those are the tools that you can use for the protection, address the protection part. And also the SailPoint also can be used to do the protection part because they do the identity access management part within the SailPoint. So awareness and training protect the main thing that when we are talking about all the standards, awareness and training among all the staff should be a key concern. Normally within the dialogue, we are doing annual trainings for the employees, and when we are recruiting employees, we do trainings for the cybersecurity best practices. We do phishing campaigns to enhance the knowledge of the employees regarding the phishing campaigns, not to click on each and every links that they are receiving through the emails and all. And yes, those things should be done by the governance team of the organization, cybersecurity governance team. They need to ensure that our employees are aware of the cybersecurity best practices and they will not be the weakest link that an attacker coming into your organization's infrastructure. So that point we can be addressed through the awareness trainings and phishing campaigns, and you can run whatever campaigns that you can enhance the awareness of the employees. You can share a poster once a month saying this kind of things can be happen, be aware of this kind be things happening. So you can aware the employees. Though the employee awareness will be surely checked by the auditors when they are coming for the audits. For each and every day standards I have talking so far. So the next one is detect. There should be mechanisms to detect any attack, any abnormal behaviors within your company network. Any lateral movements, any abnormal behaviors should be detected within your company. Security, yes. Detection process should be there. Logarithm you can be used. Cyber, as I explained earlier, cyber can be used. SonarQube can be used. Arbor can be used for detect the those attacks kind of thing. Also, you can identify vulnerabilities within your systems by scanning your systems with Acunetics, Nessus, and you can do the penetration testings and scans through the burp suite. And yes, those things, dark trace also you can be used for the end user behavior analysis. Those things you can use for the detect part. And when you are responding, you maybe have SOC. Through the SOC, you can respond. Arbor will help you to respond when there's a DDoS attack. It will automatically detect and respond and stop the attack. So in the ISO 27001 and also in the NIST, they also have defined the response procedures that respond controls to be taken under the response. Then we coming to the recover in the sense we need, as I mentioned earlier, RPO, RTO should be defined, and with those RPOs and RTOs, business units should be agreed with those defined RPOs and RTOs. That is the recovery point, and that is the recovery time. When we are at the when we are going to recover, there should not be any fault in the backups. The backup should not be affected by any of the malware. You can use Veritas net backup solution for an example. Veritas net backup solution, it provides the ransomware protection enable solution for the backups also. So you can use those tools to do the recovery process. So yes, those are basically the main standards that are applicable and coming under the cybersecurity domain. And when we are talking about these standards, the management commitment is very crucial in maintaining those standards, because when we identify a risk and we need to highlight this risk to the top management, and they need to say we are taking the risk or to implement the applicable control to mitigate the risk, because they are the ones who approve the budget. So they are the ones who need to take the responsibility on the particular risk. So the first one is it's better to have a cybersecurity steering committee quarterly within your organization, maybe headed by your CEO and the chief officers within your organization. And there you need to you need to track your strategy, and the strategy should be evaluated. and if you have any challenges in operationalization of the initial strategy, you can take them at the steering committee. And if there's any challenge in implementing any security control, you can go and table it in the cybersecurity steering committee. And also you can highlight the upcoming risk to the steering committee to get an insight to you what can be done from the higher management, because they are the ones who has bird division on the organization. And the next one is the Risk and Compliance Management Committee. We call it RCMC. So that is where we go and talk about all the risk within the organization. So this is mainly headed by the chief managers of the organization. And if they are not able to accept the risk in their scope, then we have to take the risk to the board level. So then board will decide whether we are going to implement the controls or whether we are accepting the risk. So that is basically to be done by the board risk and compliance committee. So those are the main 3 meetings that you can take within your organization to get the help of the management, to get the management commitment in operationalization of these standards and aligning with these standards. Yes, those are the key areas that I wanted to discuss today. And also, yes, the zero trust is also in one of my classes. One student asked the zero trust is the standard. Actually, zero trust is not a standard. It's also a framework, or it's also a concept, and it is to zero trust in the sense you cannot trust any. It's not saying you cannot trust anything. Zero trust, in zero trust, we secure each and every point separately. Individually, we secure each and every endpoint. You can say endpoint, each and every entity separately. So that is what zero trust is. It is a set of controls, like it's talking about identity and access management, device security, network security, application security, data security. When we talk about data security, classification, data leakage prevention mechanisms, anomaly detection, and finally the visibility and analytics through SIEM, UBA, access, user behavior analysis kind of things. I wanted to highlight the zero trust is not a standard. It's a framework kind of guideline concept that we can follow to safeguard your company's infrastructure. So those are the things I just wanted to highlight today. Any questions from your end? Because the whole time I was talking and only one question was there. Wondering whether you got anything from my session. I have a question, madam. Is there any certifications that we can follow for expertise in this area? Yes, you have certifications. For the certifications that I've been talking about are the ISO 27001, ISMS, ISO 27701, PIMS, BCM. For those certifications standards, you can be a certified lead auditor or lead implementer. If you are going to implement those certifications within your organization, you can do the ISO 27001 lead implementer certification course. If you are going to do the audits, if you are going to do the internal audits within your organization, you can do ISO 27001 lead auditor certification. For all the certifications I mentioned here, they have lead implementer and lead auditor. So hope I addressed your question, Lakshika. Okay. So, any more questions? This one. Who are the qualified security assessors in Sri Lanka? You can go for the KPMG, and yes, KPMG, they do the PCI DSS. And previously, as I think DNV also did, but DNV has stopped operations in Sri Lanka. You can go for the KPMG. So, if there's no other questions, I think we
Excuse
can.
me, madam.
Yes, Lakshmi.
Sorry for disturbing. That Sri Lanka cert also qualified security assessor?
Sri Lanka, no, they cannot. It's not a CA certification authority, so they cannot do the certifications on you, but they can do the assessments and they can check the compliance levels.
Then a FinCert.
FinCert, yes. Mainly FinCert is focused on the banking sector. They also can only assess you and tell whether you are comply up to this level and you are compliance. They can, for example, they can do a VA testing on your system and they can do highlight the vulnerabilities that are within your system so that you can fix them. Likewise, they will be giving a report saying those are the weak points within your system. So that is basically what they are doing.
Then after that, we need to fix, and again, they will do a test or vulnerability test and other.
Yeah, they will do a reassessment and check
Oh.
whether this is already fixed. Sri
Oh.
Lanka cert, FinCert cert, and Tech cert. Both, all those three certs do the same.
Mm-hmm. Then after that, we need to contact with KPMG to get.
Yeah, for the PCI, yes, KPMG, you can go for, yes. For the, yes, KPMG, ENY, EY, yes, you can go for those.
Okay, madam. Thank you.
Okay. So, is there any other questions? Yeah. If there's no any other questions, we can wind off for the day. And you can find me on LinkedIn. And if you want anything to know regarding the certification and cybersecurity, even in the operation field or even in the governance field, you can ask me anytime. I'll try my best to help you all in my capacity. So, and so thank you all. and have a nice day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, madam.